The three worst consecutive game launches in history. When Anthem launched to much hype in 2019 and everyone realised it was fucking shit, player numbers tanked and the game was essentially DOA, the gaming community could be forgiven for thinking that we wouldn't see such a hype game from a mainstream publisher feature such a botched release like it for a long time. But wait. Here comes 2022, the three games that looked at Anthem's release and said,
"Hold my beer with you?"
Yeah, I gotcha.
For one of these franchises to launch in the state that they did would be bad enough, but for all three to launch like they did is a calamity and further proof that we're still suffering from the curse of modern gaming. From boring single-player narratives, broken multiplayer, missing features, bad design and too little content, these games have got it all. Today we're going to look at three game launches: the bad, the buggy and the bungled. So stick around till the end, so I'm going to talk about the future of the games industry and how these mistakes can be avoided. The bad game launch: Call of Duty Vanguard. It's fair to say that at this point many players are suffering from COD fatigue. The yearly release cycle has put pressure on developers to release cookie-cutter games without enough time to implement iterations on the core gameplay mechanics that would help keep the franchise feeling fresh. Nothing wrong with yearly releases you might think, and for sports titles and the like it makes more sense. There's always change in team rosters, formations, player haircuts, all that good stuff. But for FPS titles, unless you're bringing the players something they haven't seen before, in either the setting or the core gameplay, what exactly are you selling them? Vanguard is the fifth time the series has visited the World War II era, and it feels stale. Is this a bad game?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact.
You have to judge it in context, and that is of a major publisher releasing a supposedly AAA game with a corresponding price tag, with a built-in audience and core mechanics mapped out and well understood. To fuck that up by releasing a game with lackluster single-player campaign with 9 missions, zombie mode with 1 map, and unpopular changes to weapon loadouts and shitty enemy AI, broken difficulty and all the usual live service bugs and balk features, points to a game with serious problems and not something long-time fans should have to put up with. Fan reaction has been, well, take a look.
The rest of y'all want to know, hey Murder Show, so how are you liking Call of Duty Vanguard? Well, how do you like getting kicked in the balls?
Only by the end in this disjointed narrative, you don't really care about any of them. So the objective of their strong, memorable characters here fails.
But I've already put in more than enough time for a game that really doesn't deserve it. It deserves my apathy.
But don't just take the word of angry YouTubers, players are voting with their feet. As you can see, player numbers are in the toilet, with many presumably staying in Warzone or leaving the franchise entirely until the next release. It's fair to say that should the Activision purchase happen, Microsoft's stated intention of moving to a 2-year release cycle for COD is a welcome move. It will give the developers time to hone the story, gameplay and multiplayer experiences, and hopefully offer long-time fans something fresh and well put together to play. The buggy game launch, Battlefield 2042. Much was promised for Battlefield 2042, massive scale 128 player battles where dynamic storms, environmental hazards, total combat freedom and Battlefield signature destruction spark a new breed of only in Battlefield moments. Whilst 2042 suffers from some of the same poor design choices as Vanguard, it went one step further by launching with never-ending game-breaking bugs. Poor collision detection, server desync, lag, hit detection, client crashes, visual glitches, all point to a game with minimal QA testing, with the publishers happy for the players to beta test and call that experience a live service.
Those fuckers.
Just get it out the door, lads. It'll be fine. In an effort to address the state of the game, EA got so desperate they tried to blame Halo fans for the mess.
It's not my fault.
Now, we're a rowdy bunch and get pretty heated when it comes to the games we love, but responsible for EA's internal failures we are not. Fan reaction was similar to Vanguard. Long-time players unhappy at the state of the game and justifiably annoyed that the trailers and concept art bear little resemblance to the featured gameplay, alongside a host of other complaints.
Battlefield 2042 is potentially the worst performing Battlefield since Hardline. Hundreds of infantry are all stacked into single locations, but that's something that never actually happens in the game.
But when they released the rest of their other content, they presented more bugs, more glitches, and just a plethora of other problems. And 7 maps, that's pretty low for a AAA game. Again, the gameplay wasn't bad, but it was hindered by all the frickin' bugs. It's hard to have fun when I get killed by a guy who's desyncing all over the fucking place.
Player and streaming numbers are the worst here, with 2042 down to under 1,000 players just last week, and the game's future hanging in the balance. DICE have since paused all future development of the game until game-breaking bugs have been fixed, but by then it might be too late. For any product to release in this state shows either a lack of integrity from the publisher, with them happy to take their customers' money in exchange for a broken product, or lack of technical leadership from the developer by over-promising on what they could deliver. Either way, this game needs a serious amount of work and fast. The bungled game launch, Halo Infinite.
You were the chosen one!
In stark contrast to Battlefield, Halo Infinite was universally well received in its beta pre-release. Fans knew they were playing a release preview, and based on the quality of their gameplay, Halo fans were excited. Then it launched. The gameplay was still fun, the new maps, limited as they are, were still fresh, so it took some time for the complaints to surface, but when the community realised that the game that had been released wouldn't see a significant update for at least 6 months, groans started to grow louder. The lack of fan favourite modes already had the community disappointed, so when Big Team Battle broke in December, the floodgates opened, and the complaining hit new heights. 343 Industries' inability to deal with the technical problems because of technical debt on a brand new game with a 6-year development time was too much, and the groundswell of noise became a cacophony of complaints, summed up perfectly here.
Missing modes, no forge, a lack of community features, broken custom games, broken theater.
Why a bungled launch? Because 343 have finally achieved what they failed to do in the previous 2 Halo installments and make a game which feels like classic Halo. The gunplay, game mechanics and art design are all on point. Yet they've failed to capitalise on that good work and have released a live service game with no plan, no roadmap for actually delivering that service, or at least not one that's been communicated to the fanbase. When you make a live service game, you have to deliver content. And when you ship a game with core features missing, you have to have a plan to implement those features and effectively communicate that plan to the community. 343 have failed at both, and many in the community, or at least in my comment section, have lost hope. It's a good job that cookbook hit the shelves when it did, or Halo fans would have gone full on lemming. When your biggest release in 6 months is a fucking cookbook, you know you've got problems.
It's a cookbook! It's a cookbook!
Like other games presented here, the player numbers are through the floor, and it looks like a long road back to relevancy for the Halo franchise. Can these games be saved, and if so, how do they fix it? It's clear that all these games need attention in some key but different areas, but essentially the game plan for all 3 is the same at this point. Patch every bug you can find and quickly, and then proactively communicate your work to the community through every channel you have available to you. Twitter, Ask Me Anything, Reddit post, blog post, YouTube videos, you name it, whatever you need to do, they need to do it. Add missing content and reward long-term players for their support with well-run in-game events and challenges. Now, this may not be enough, and perhaps these games will never reach their full potential, but you may be able to create enough goodwill within the respective communities that long-term damage may be limited, and you might even learn some lessons for future releases. The FPS genre is full of well-polished games with dedicated player bases and huge reach on platforms like YouTube and Twitch. For Halo, mainline COD, and Battlefront to compete, they need to release quality over quantity. Build from the core audience and organically regrow their audiences with compelling gameplay and in-game events, which cannot be replicated by the Battle Royale crowd. I said at the start of the video that for 3 such large franchises to ship games so close together of such low quality, with such little content, with game-breaking bugs, a lack of creativity in modes and features which seem to actively discriminate against their core audience, serious questions need to be asked about the state of game development. If the Activision purchase is completed, 2 of these franchises will shortly be owned by Microsoft. They're in danger of squandering one iconic franchise and buying another for an eye-watering sum of money, just as it declines in popularity. Why can't developers and publishers get it right? Why do they press go before they're ready? Don't they realise the reputational cost is damaging their long-term prospects? Look at another botch release, Cyberpunk. Sales numbers appear to show that game is a massive success, but dig beneath the numbers, and no matter how good the game gets with post-launch patches, there are many who will see it as a failure. In the long run, this reputational damage will hurt the developer and impact future game releases. But maybe studio executives don't care as long as they get paid and can move on to the next money-making game. But this is short-sighted and will lead to gamer or customer distrust and apathy. The corporatization of game creation is a game of diminishing returns currently being masked by the expansion of games to new audiences, devices and markets. As the markets grow, revenues increase, masking the dissatisfaction of gamers with their purchases. So is it any wonder that Game Pass is doing so well when AAA games cost upwards of $60 and are of such variable quality that gamers want to take the risk out of purchasing a game, would rather pay to stream or rent the game for less than the full asking price? There are bright sparks all the time in gaming, of course. Elden Ring has shown what an uncompromising artistic vision can do for a game. Forza continues to show what franchise releases should be about, with variations on a theme but upgrades in the right places. There are plenty of highly anticipated games coming later this year from respected developers and publishers for gamers to be excited by. But will executives learn the lessons of these botch releases? Or are these games just collateral damage in an industry hurtling towards game streaming and subscription models? With games are mere content to be churned out, targeted towards a mass casual player base, spending money on NFT cosmetic items in play-to-earn multiverse crypto farms. Let's hope not. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment down below telling me what you think. I'll be there arguing with everybody later. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.